Greetings, YouTube. It is the Garage Autonomist again. I want to read to you a little list that I put together of roles that were actually meant for people of color, but were not indeed played by people of color. Let us start with the 2013 film The Lone Ranger, played by Johnny Depp, who played Tonto. Let us go now to King David, played by Richard Gere, 1985. Let us go to the shit show that came out not very long ago, last year as a matter of fact, Exodus, Gods and Kings, starring Christian Bale, Noel Edgerton, Sigourney Weaver, and Aaron Paul, playing biblical figures, although these people were not really real. But as we all know, these religions, the big three religions anyway, were birthed in both the Middle East and North Africa. Let us talk about the classic Cleopatra, played by Elizabeth Taylor. And lastly, let us not forget the non-offensive and realistically played Holly Golightly's Chinese landlord, masterfully played by none other than Mickey Rooney. I mention all of these instances where Hollywood was being totally awesome because apparently one of white supremacists' hamburger helpers, and a very famous YouTuber on top of it, Mr. Sargon of Akkad, had a little fit not too long ago. It's funny that his type usually can't wait to talk about how members of oppressed groups such as, women's is and people of color are always complaining and protesting and whining. Yet he has a problem with Idris Elba, who is rumored to be the front runner, play Roland Deschain. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the character's last name correct. And I don't mind anyone correcting me. Please let me know how it's pronounced. I haven't had a chance to look that up. But again, Idris Elba's up for playing Roland Deschain. I guess that's the gunfighter of Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Now, I do know, I have not read The Dark Tower. I do consider myself an OG of Stephen King fan, but I do have to admit that after 1985, I've stopped reading his books, not for any real reason other than the fact that I just could not keep up with this man's volume of writings. I mean, it was ridiculous, but the man was just writing way too many books for me to try to keep up with him. Dropped him. It's kind of stupid, actually. The more and I'm not interested in Dark Tower simply because of Idris Elba being considered for the role for the role of this series. I've heard so much about it over the years that I have been interested in checking it out. I'm going through a weird thing right now, by the way, where I'm just reading nonfiction, essay books, things like that, a lot more lately, and I'm only able to focus and concentrate on fictional writing in audiobook form. I don't know what's going on there. It used to be the other way around. That's not the case. Anyway, so that's what's going on. Sargon of Akkad is upset. He feels that Idris Elba should not be playing Roland Deschain because Roland is white. As a matter of fact, I think there's a person that Roland is supposed to be his companion as he's saving or helping, but apparently the woman is black and she is the one who's constantly calling Roland Deschain a honky, so on and so forth. So in other words, Sargon, that apparently it won't work to do that. How is she going to call Idris Elba a honky if he's indeed not one? Well, that depends. Maybe they might just reverse the ethnic groups of both of these characters. Have you ever thought of that, Sargon? Moving on, Stephen King, the creator of fucking Roland, the fucking author that created the fucking character of Roland, says this: "To me, the color of the gunslinger does not matter. What I care about is how fast he can draw and that he takes care of the quartet." Now, I read a little bit about at least the quartet, so I'll know what the hell Stephen King was even talking about. So I get that part. We don't even know if Idris will get this role. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But he's the front runner, and it seems to be upsetting a lot of people. Now, let me just go on and say this. Again, Sargon, I'm pretty sure, has never had an issue where roles in Hollywood historically have been whitewashed. So if roles are getting brownwashed, he should shut the fuck up. No, seriously, he should shut the fuck up. And I'm only saying that because it's Sargon, and when I say he should shut the fuck up. Here again is another perfect example of white boy who has no problems. bourgeois white boy who has no problems. This is the only thing he has to complain about. Just like how he endlessly complains about feminism when feminists are not in power. People who look like him are in power. People who think like he does has power, and it is he who has the carte blanche to live and breathe in the world. Fuck him. Now, moving on, I do have a bit of an issue when Hollywood sort of decides to change roles, or to change roles and people of color from the original character or whoever they were, if they're just doing it for marketing reasons. See, the thing is that some marketing douche finally figured it out after years of black people complaining and saying, hey, we've noticed that black people will go and see a movie if they're represented not so much by the black guy who gets killed 5 minutes into the film. So we feel that maybe we should start to take advantage of this. Now, in some ways, it's kind of good. I mean, I like the fact that they're now considering and looking at more lead characters played by people of color and women. But I think the biggest problem with this also is that it really is just a very cynical marketing thing here that they do. And sometimes I feel that it's so much about the money that now at this point, artistically, they don't care about anything. I love the fact that there was a female Starbuck for the Battlestar Galactica reboot when it came out, because it added a great context to the character. And that example is what I mean by reimaginations. In the case of Dark Tower, maybe it might add to the context of the character, maybe not. I don't know. I do know this, and I am saying this as a straight man, contrary to what a lot of the black patriarchs, but contrary to what they might think about me, I'm saying this as a straight man. Idris Elba, in addition to being an incredibly talented man, is also a very handsome man. I think that any casting director should be busting a leg and a back to try to get him in their fucking movies as a lead. My point here is that anybody should be able to play anybody. Now, and I do feel like if it really comes down to a reimagination and the reimagination is part of a context of the character, then fuck yes. You can have anyone play anybody. But I do hope, Sargon, that if you are able to make it out of YouTube obscurity and you actually become someone that people would give a shit about, and on that wonderful day that you do pass away, that I would be the one to play you. Won't that be a bitch? All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye.